Well, morning, everybody. It doesn't seem like 2 minutes since I was last chatting to everybody last night, and it barely is 2 minutes. A little bit of sleep, and then up again to try and prepare this morning's show and get some videos edited and get them ready to drop into the live stream. I think we're going to focus for the first part of the show on the reaction to what happened yesterday with Tommy, and then after that, what we're going to do is we're going to look at what's going to happen potentially on the 6th of November. But I want to start with a Bible verse, and I'm going to read it so I don't make any mistakes, because I don't like reading the Bible. I forget the words wrong, which is never good. So just bear with me 2 seconds. Here we go. So this is from the book of First Peter. First Peter 5 verse 7, and it's talking about how we can deal with worry. And I know a lot of people that come and watch our programs, that tune in, that get involved in the comments. I know a lot of people are worried and stressed, and that's understandable. Now, here's the thing: if you're a Christian, you shouldn't be stressed and you shouldn't be worried, according to the Bible. And I know as a Christian that I've spent most of my Christian life stressed and worried. So there was something going wrong somewhere. And it's First Peter 5 verse 7, and it says, "Casting all your cares upon him, for he cares for you." Casting all your cares upon him, for he cares for you. And that's absolutely a promise from God and from God's word, that if you're stressed, if you're worried, if you're going through a difficult time, you've someone to go to. Joel Beeke. Joel Beeke is, if you ever get a chance to go and look Joel Beeke up, very strange sounding name, but Joel Beeke is a Dutch Reformed pastor, specializes in the teachings of the Puritans. And Joel Beeke says this: he says, if you're a Christian, you always have somewhere to go. Isn't that a great way to look at things? If you're a Christian, you always have somewhere to go. And if you're a Christian, you can always cast your cares upon Jesus all the time. God's good all the time. And Jesus is God, and Jesus is good all the time. Look at the Gospels. Look at the way Jesus carried himself. Look at the way Jesus behaved. Look at how he loved people. Look at how he carried out miracles, because he was God among us. And that's the difference between Christianity and every other religion. Every other religion, you've got to try and please God. With us, what you've got to do is surrender to Christ and let Christ take control, and cast your cares upon him, cast your worries upon him. So anyway, that's a little bit of Bible for this morning. Let's just start the day in prayer as well. And I think we'll kind of make a habit of doing this. And again, I mean, there's some amazing things happening in our movement, but let's just bring the day. Let's just bring the day to the Lord. Father, thank you that you've given us a new day, a new morning with new blessings, and all's good in the world. But it's not. We know there's battles. We know there's all sorts going on. But from your point of view, Lord, you want to bless us. You want to protect us. You want to use us in this battle against evil. So, Lord, I pray that you'd be with everybody that's watching today. Lord, keep everybody safe. Lord, heal those that need heal. Encourage those that need encouraged, and let everyone cast their cares upon you, Lord, and just be with us. Be with us today. Be with us every day for the rest of our lives. In Jesus' name, amen. So here we go. I'm going to play a video, and this is Ben's reaction to what happened in the trial yesterday. And it's telling that Ben Habib is the only politician. I haven't heard if Nick Tenconi said anything, but I'm sure Nick will as well. But Ben Habib is the only politician that I've heard that has spoken at length about what happened to Tommy. So it's from the Andrew Eborn show. Again, I've edited it very quickly, but let me know in the comments what you think. But this is Ben's take on what happened.
I'm joined by Ben Habib. Hello, Ben.
Good evening.
Um, just to fill in the facts here, Tommy was charged for failing to comply with a duty under what's Schedule 7 of the Terrorism Act of 2000 after being stopped at the Channel Tunnel in Folkestone on July the 28th, 2002, and he was refusing to hand over his PIN. Judge Goose cleared Robinson of all charges, stating he could not be sure the police stop was lawful or in a headline of the law used. A couple of key quotes and then I'll get your reaction. He stated that the stop gave the impression of an arbitrary decision based on who you are, i.e. who Tommy is or Stephen. He concluded that it was actually what you stood for and your beliefs that acted as the principal reason for the stop. I cannot put out of my mind that it was actually what you stood for and your political beliefs that acted for the principal reason for this stop. He noted that the officers involved appeared fundamentally unclear about their powers, had no real recollection of questions asked during the 40-minute stop, and failed to record clear reasons for selecting Robinson. His barrister, Tommy Barrister, was Alistair Williams KC. He argued that the stop was politically motivated and the predominant influence on the officer's decision was simply recognising Tommy Robinson. Ben, what's your reaction?
I agree with all of that. And I think what it confirms is that there is at least one judge thinking straight in the judiciary, for which hurrah. But everything else it confirms is that we've got a broken criminal justice system. And when I first heard that Tommy Robinson had been charged under the Terrorism Act 2000, I think it's Schedule 7 you mentioned, which, just for viewers who aren't familiar with it, effectively allow a particular branch of the constabulary to stop you the normal rights you might have as a human being. All the rights which they all bang on about, you and I discussed the other day, Human Rights Act and all the rest of it, all of it suspended under the Terrorism Act, and they can detain you and do effectively what they wish with you. And if you don't give them access to your telephone, I think in Tommy Robinson's case, it was the PIN to his telephone, they can bring charges. And the judge was absolutely right to point out that this was politically motivated. And he was absolutely right to throw it out. Anyone who first saw the case being brought knew that it was politically motivated. The thing that, and it confirms, as I say, that we've got a two-tier criminal justice system, one where the police are acting, based on political activism as opposed to enforcing the law. But the other thing I think that's really revealing about this case is that Tommy Robinson, whether you like him or loathe him, is well known right across the United Kingdom and in every part of the political sphere. And there hasn't been, with my exception, I think, there hasn't been a single leader of a political party that's come out and said he was treated badly. This is a sign of a criminal justice system that's not working. And this is something that needs to be fixed for all of us, not just for Tommy Robinson. It needs to be fixed for all of us. A law used inappropriately in the way that it was against him will one day be used, or already has been, against other British citizens. And that takeaway doesn't seem to have got into the minds of the leaders of the other political parties. And they're so themselves cowed by cancel culture that they're not prepared to stand up on this case because they fear they'll be cancelled if they support in any way Tommy Robinson, who, as I think I've said on your program before, has somehow become the Voldemort of political commentariat as well as the political sphere. And that's where we are going to fail as a country if we don't have political leaders that can separate what is socially acceptable and what their peers may think is the dinner party class count as acceptable sort of social company and so on. If they can't separate that from the principles that should apply equally to all British citizens, we're done for. We've got to have politicians and leaders in particular who can make that separation and call it out for what it is. So lots of people have said to me, Ben, it's political suicide that you have supported Tommy Robinson when he was incarcerated last year, which in my view was also politically motivated. It's political suicide that you've allowed him to become a member of your party, even though that is his human right. It's political suicide that you've now called out the system when he was arrested on these terrorism charges. And I keep hearing it's political suicide, it's political suicide. Well, I tell you what is political suicide is not standing up for the British people. Ultimately, that is the suicide of our system, our constitution, equality under the law. And that's a kind of mass, that's a crime against the masses of this country. So I'm delighted that he has had these charges thrown out of court. I'm delighted that the judge cited what he cited, correctly cited, that effectively this was a politically motivated personal attack on Tommy Robinson. And I'm very disappointed that not any of the other political leaders have come out and denounced it the way I have. Kemi Badenoch should be coming out and denouncing it. Farage, who said the other day that actually this wasn't a terrorism issue. He was stopped because there's something wrong with his passport. He was being interviewed on a podcast and he got it wrong. He should come out and say, well, I made a mistake. Actually, it was terrorism charges and Tommy Robinson was falsely accused. Doesn't matter whether we know Farage hates Tommy Robinson, but why can't the leaders of political parties act on principle? They've got to do it.
That little piece there speaks volumes about Ben and his integrity and the fact that he's the only, I mean, believe you me, standing with Tommy, the reason that Ben Habib is cancelled from GB News and Talk TV is one reason only, that he's welcomed Tommy Robinson into his party. And again, I think everybody, I would like to see more promotion of Ben among all the influencers, particularly Tommy. I'll be honest with you. I think Tommy needs to nail his colours to the mast when it comes to Advance UK and to Ben. I mean, he's a member of the party, but I think there needs to be a lot of chat about Ben amongst people on our side, because Ben is putting his neck on the line. And obviously, what happened was he got completely cancelled from GB News and Talk TV for taking his stand with Tommy. And as many of us that have stood with Tommy down through the years have been cancelled and have paid a heavy price for it. So it's not even just Tommy that gets persecuted. It's everybody that gets persecuted. And this case is such an important case, not just for Tommy, but for absolutely everybody in our movement. Because what's clearly been happening, and again, if you didn't see the show last night, I'm going to very quickly go through the prevent strategy says about the extreme far right. And actually every single person that's in this chat today will realize that we're all included in what the prevent class as extreme right-wing nutcases, basically, and potential terrorists. And that's the reason that people were getting stopped at airports, because the government definition of extremism, after they had the Axel Rudabakana thing, and then then there was extremism that was being flagged up by the Tory government. When all those things happened, they changed the definition and they stopped focusing on Islamist terrorism, and they put the focus firmly. And again, we'll find this out on the 6th when the stats are revealed. They put the focus firmly on what they call extreme far right terrorism. And I'm going to read this again. I know I've done this a couple of times, but I'm going to do it again. We'll not go through what extremism. We'll just focus on this one paragraph. We define extreme right-wing terrorism as the active or vocal support. Now, this is absolutely scandalous. The active or vocal support of ideologies that advocate discrimination or violence against minority groups. Now, even that is a very, very loose definition, because would I discriminate against an Islamist who wanted to take over my country, whether he was violent or not, who wanted to take over my country and turn it into an Islamic state? Yes, absolutely, I would 100% discriminate against an Islamist who wanted to take over the country and destroy it from within. And I think every right-thinking British man of whatever religion, race or creed would do the same. So it says the 3 most common subcategories of extreme right-wing terrorist ideology and their narratives are cultural nationalism. Now listen to this. Western culture is under threat from mass migration and a lack of integration by certain ethnic and cultural groups. If you believe that, according to Prevent, according to Prevent, if you believe that, you are extreme right wing and basically a terrorist. That's what they're saying. And that's, look what it says, terrorist ideologies. It is absolutely scandalous, and that needs to be changed. And again, I don't know how we do it. I don't know how we change that definition. I'm not a politician, but we need to be talking to Advance. I'm going to talk to my local MP about it when I get the chance, because that definition is fundamentally flawed and wrong. And that's why Tommy got grabbed at the airport. That's why I got grabbed at the airport. That's why Danny got grabbed at the airport. That's why Callum Webster Callum that used to work with Sargon got grabbed at the airport. That's why loads of people are getting heat from the police. And that's why the deep state police that should be dealing with real terrorism are looking at right-wing activists who are political, non-violent, basically like Martin Luther King Jr. The deep state is looking at us because this gives them the reason to look at us. And what we found out from yesterday is that it's against the law. What the state is doing is against the law, because what they're doing is attacking us on the grounds of one of our protected characteristics. And I think this is massively, massively important. I'm going to have a look at what Ezra said about Tommy yesterday, because again, very, very interesting thoughts from Ezra.
Has been acquitted of the ludicrous charge under the Terrorism Act. That's obviously the big takeaway. I think a very important second story is how the judge absolutely excoriated the police, saying they were not credible, that they were deceptive in their vagueness, they lost their notes, etc. He was really harsh on their conduct. But I think the most important thing by far was that the judge said several times and in several different ways that Tommy Robinson was targeted because of his political beliefs. Not because of any wrongdoing, not because of any crime, certainly not because of any terrorism. That he was interrogated, stopped, detained, humiliated, and put through this entire prosecution because he has a different political point of view than the government. That is a stunning thing to hear from a judge. That's certainly not what I expected to hear in a trial on Tommy Robinson not giving up his cell phone password. And I think it vindicates and validates everything that Tommy's allies and supporters have been saying for years, that he is being turned into an enemy of the state, and the resources of the police and the prosecutors and the regime media have been dispatched to destroy him, not because he's done anything wrong, but because he dissents from the mainstream point.
And I think what Ezra's saying there, it backs up what I'm saying, that those of us who have stood with Tommy, we've all been vindicated by this case, because we've all been saying for years that the reason that he's getting arrested, the reason he's getting treated like this, is because of his political beliefs. Now, this is massive. And like I say, this feeds in to the cancelling of Ben Habib, actually. It feeds into the cancelling of Ben Habib. Because let's get it right. If Tommy had been convicted yesterday and had a terrorist conviction against him, that would have been a game changer in the negative sense for our movement. That's how big this is. That's the stakes. That's how high the stakes were yesterday. And is it any wonder that Tommy was looking stressed? That's how high the stakes were. But again, this comment's very, and I'll call anybody out if I think things are not being done as they should be. And this is why I'm maybe not the most popular person on the block, because I just say it as I see it. Do you remember the old game show, Say What You See, catchphrase? Well, that's what I do. I there's no filters with me. And I think everybody should be supporting Ben Habib a lot more than they are. I really do. I think a lot of, I know, I'm going to say this, right? I know a lot of people in the background, when Ben launched the party, were promising him all sorts of support, and they've done very little, with the exception of Dan Wootton. Dan Wootton has been extremely professional and has not supported, because Dan's very, very fair. I mean, he doesn't say who he really supports, but what he does, he gives Ben a platform. He mentions Advance a lot. He gives UKIP a platform, mentions UKIP a lot. It mentions reform, mentions Rupert and the good people on the Conservative side. But do you know what? There's people I'm really, really annoyed with that haven't even mentioned advance once, or when they did, they mentioned it in negative. And those people are people that promised to support Ben Habib and Advance UK, and they're not. Honestly, I'm asking questions. I'm asking big questions about why. Because to me, the only party that we know is not infiltrated by the deep state is Advance UK. It's as simple as that. That is the only party that I know of that we can safely say has not been infiltrated by the blob, and it will stay like that because of the structure and because of the way it's been set up. I know I'm going off on a rant about Advance, but everybody, including Tommy, needs to be supporting Advance more and shouting their name from the rooftop. Sorry, it's just the way it is. I'm going to get a lot of hate for that, but I just think if you're a member of the party, get behind it and give them all your support. Anyway, rant over.
Actually, I think he represents the mainstream, and it's the establishment that has fringe radical ideas about mass immigration and censorship. So the more I think about the outcome today, yes, of course, Tommy being acquitted is very important. He could have theoretically gone to prison. But I think the lingering legacy of today's ruling will be the first time that a judge has ever said, stop persecuting Tommy Robinson. Stop turning him into a political prisoner. Those phrases have only been said by Tommy's allies until now. And now a judge at the Westminster Magistrates Court, well, he's practically sounding like a Tommy Robinson supporter, isn't he? In fact, he's not a Tommy Robinson supporter. He's just a supporter of the law. And I think he's a little bit sick of the government abusing its resources in two-tier justice. Obviously, they have.
Yeah, and again, I think this is absolutely massive, and I think this judge, you know, we've got to give credit where credit's due. We've got a just judge. You know, there's an old song by Bob Dylan about a corrupt judge called Seven Curses, and Bob Dylan did another one called Rosemary, Lily, and the Jack of Hearts that was about a corrupt judge. But this was a fair judge. This was, you know, and we've seen the corruption. We've seen the people that aren't standing and being fair. And we've seen the fact that Tommy has been persecuted and vilified and demonized for years and years and years. But the truth is that yesterday, I think we got justice, and I think that can have a massive implication. But we've got to capitalize on this. And again, I make an appeal to the barristers, to the lawyers, to the solicitors that actually do support Tommy, the black belt barrister, Stephen Barrett, all those really, really good guys that are just lawyers, just barristers. They really need to step up and step up to mark. I'm going to play a video from the Daily Telegraph. So we'll finish on the Tommy thing. It's great news, but obviously the world moves on, and we've got to bank this one, and we've got to work out how we can use this ruling to our advantage. So I'm going to move on to something the Daily Telegraph has just published, and I'm going to play a video. And it's about the BBC. This is about the blob, and this is about corruption in high places. And again, let me know your thoughts after I play this video.
Publicly accuse someone of a crime when you had no independent witnesses to it. Well, you almost certainly wouldn't, especially if you had prior knowledge of someone else being to blame. But that's exactly what the BBC has been accused of doing to Israel in this dossier. And the author of this dossier? Well, it's a former member of the broadcaster's own Editorial Standards Committee. This is the latest set of troubling allegations to hit the BBC as part of a Telegraph investigation into claims the broadcaster's coverage has systemic problems over impartiality. So let's get into it. In April and June 2024, the BBC published 2 stories about the discovery of mass graves at Al-Nasser and Al-Shifa hospitals in Gaza. According to the internal BBC dossier, the articles strongly implied that Israeli forces had buried bodies at both sites prior to withdrawing from the area. The articles also mentioned alleged evidence of war crimes, including bodies found with their hands tied and gunshot wounds to their heads. But the BBC's own editorial standards committee was told that this narrative was wrong. The memo says that the most likely explanation is that the mass graves were dug by Palestinians themselves, and the people buried there had died or been killed prior to the arrival of the Israeli ground forces. So the BBC made a mistake. Well, perhaps. But the committee argues that the broadcaster knew that Palestinians were burying their dead at these sites before the Israeli raids. Several months earlier, the BBC itself reported on Palestinians digging mass graves, and geolocation clearly places the two burial sites in roughly the same area. Now, whatever your personal views may be on the actions of Israel in Gaza, implying a country committed war crimes when there is evidence to the contrary has serious ramifications, not least because it could erode the credibility of genuine war crime claims at a later date. How can we expect anyone to develop an informed or nuanced opinion when the BBC is only presenting them with some of the facts? That is perhaps the most damning takeaway of all.
Again, I'm going to apologize, guys, for the sound quality of that, but I think you got the gist of it. And again, I know a lot of people say, well, why are you going on about Israel? Well, it's the same narrative that has condemned everybody on our side of the political debate. I've just found out, and I can't do anything about it. I've just found out in the last 2 days that over a year ago, Searchlight magazine published an article about me that was completely untrue. And I'd had that much going on in my life, obviously with my mother and all sorts of other personal issues and ill health, that I just haven't had the chance to basically do anything about it. But Searchlight published an article on their website last year saying that I had been convicted of threatening my local MP. Right now, actually, my local MP is a very good friend of mine, Alex Easton. He lives just up the road from me. He's one of us. He's a working class lad. He's a top bloke. The story was completely untrue. There's another man called Richard Inman. I mean, you couldn't make this stuff up. There's another man called Richard Inman who lives in Keighley, in Yorkshire, who was convicted. He's 41 years old. He was convicted of threatening his local MP, and he got a suspended sentence. Searchlight magazine, when I joined UKIP, joined the NEC of UKIP, Searchlight magazine published that story. And I didn't think anything. I didn't even know. You know, it just went straight over my head. I have a rough recollection of somebody saying something. Now, if I'd have known about that, I would be suing them. But obviously, there's a statute of limitations on slander, on libel, and you can only sue someone within a year of the story being published. So all the stuff going on, I didn't do anything about it. It came to my attention the other day, and I wondered, I couldn't understand why people that I did business with were all of a sudden not doing business with me anymore. In fact, one client wrote to me and said, we don't agree with your values, so we can't do business with you anymore. And I thought, this is weird because I've known these people for 20 years. So that story that publication published has done massive damage to my reputation. Completely true. I've never been convicted of any criminal offense in my life. And I'm going to write to Searchlight. I'm going to ask them to take it down. Who knows whether they will or not. The problem is because, one, I don't have deep pockets, and two, it's past the statute of limitations. I can't sue them, but they did libel me. And how often have people's lives and reputations been destroyed by the mainstream media telling lies about them? Then we had all the nonsense in the Sun newspaper, where there was the story about, one of Tommy's demos. So these things are serious, and Tommy's reputation has been ruined by the media. Loads of other people have been ruined by the media. And what this story is about the BBC actually claiming that Israel committed war crimes when it didn't. Now, there was a man ran into a synagogue less than a month ago and stabbed people, saying it's for the children of Gaza and for ISIS. People are getting radicalized by the BBC. And we're going to look at a bit more on radicalization in a bit. But this is how serious all this is. And it's not the first time I've been slandered. It's not the first time I've had people lie about me in the media. The book that was written by Nick Lowles had inaccuracies about my military career in it. They tried to imply I was a special forces soldier. Now I should have taken that as a compliment and said nothing. But again, it wasn't true. I wasn't a special forces soldier. I was in the infantry in the British Army. I served for 7 years. I was a weapons instructor, tactics instructor, but I was certainly not in the special forces. And they published that in a book, and I had to get them to not retract it, just to take it out of the book. You know, so this stuff has happened, and it's happened ever since I've been involved in activism. It happened way back in 2017 when there was a story that was published by the Daily Record, again, that I had to tackle them on. So the truth of the matter is the media cannot be trusted. And this feeds directly into yesterday's narrative when journalists, citizen journalists, were banned from going from the court. Now, don't get me wrong, the judge made a great ruling in favor of Tommy, but why ban the citizen journalists? Makes no sense. And we've got to be vigilant. And like Tommy said yesterday, the next thing they're going to do is come for the citizen journalist. And we need to be very, very aware of what's going on. Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, it's literally cost me thousands and thousands of pounds without a shadow of a doubt. And I'm convinced that that's what's the cause of it. I'm convinced that's what the cause of it. And there's nothing I can do because it's past the statute of limitations. It is what it is. I'm going to seek legal advice and see if there is something that can be done. But I don't have the money to take a massive lawsuit, you know, and that's the problem. Whereas if you or I say something slightly wrong about Mohammed, the local Muslim Brotherhood operative that suddenly decides he's going to call for a mass mobilization of Islamists, and we say something slightly wrong, they'll drag us all the way to the bankruptcy courts. Look what happened to Tommy with the case that Silenced was focused on. Ruined him financially, and they didn't care about his family, didn't care. They just did it. And again, if you've seen the film Silenced, we all know the truth about that. But it hasn't. The thing is about this, that it hasn't just happened to Tommy. It's happened to loads of us who for years have been standing up. The first time I spoke about Islam was in 1998 publicly. That was the first time I spoke about Islam and the dangers of Islam in the UK. And I think I said it the other day. The place where I spoke, it was a little church on the Shankill Road called the Mustard Seed. And there was about 20 people in it. So I wasn't exactly on a big platform. There was no there was an internet, but there was no YouTube then. And the people just looked at me like I had two heads. What is this man talking about? But, you know, there's a lot of us have been doing this for a long time in various different ways. And it has a massive price, and it shouldn't have a price, because what we're trying to do, we don't hate anybody. We're not against Muslim people. We're against the ideology that is absolutely ruining millions upon millions of people's lives, and in my opinion, taking them to hell. But that's a religious thing. So yeah, I've given up now, as I don't want to be seen as harassing. I don't know what that's about. BBC are the mouthpiece of the 21st century modern day Nazis. Absolutely, the Islamofascists and the National Socialists of the far left, or the International Socialists of the far left. Free legal advice should be a human right. Well, do you know what, Christine? There are a lot of people with a lot of money, and the reality is there should be a fund for every single patriot that gets into legal difficulties. Now, I know the Free Speech Union is great. In fact, I think I'm going to join the Free Speech Union. But there needs to be a fund to support patriots that get into legal difficulties. And I'm not a money man. I'm rubbish with money. But someone needs to set a fund up that basically people can give to support legal proceedings when patriots get dragged through the courts. Because if Tommy didn't have Elon supporting him and a good barrister yesterday, he could have been in all sorts of trouble. Not yesterday, whenever the trial was, before he went to Israel. Okay, I want to have a look at what's going to happen tomorrow in Birmingham. And again, guys, I think this mass mobilization in Birmingham tomorrow is absolutely disgusting. It's absolutely
this
disgusting.
match shouldn't even be taking place.
Like they did with Russia. Why?
Yeah.
Look at the double standards.
Yeah, so exactly. Yeah, we can go into the into the.
So this clown here, I mean, the problem is these are dangerous clowns. These are clowns that people actually listen to. That's the problem that we've got here, guys. So this clown is basically calling thousands of people onto the streets. He's not the only one. There's going to be a mass mobilization of Muslims tomorrow. And my advice, when I thought about this, I was actually going to come over when it looked like the Maccabi football supporters were coming. I was going to come over because I think that would have been a very just reason to come and take a stand and actually mobilize lots of patriots. But I don't think this is worth mobilizing lots of patriots for. I think what we need to do is get lots of YouTubers there, lots of people with cameras, and get the cameras on the Islamist baying mob that's going to turn up tomorrow at 6 o'clock with their anti-Semitic hatred, with their anti-Jew hatred, exactly the same stuff that we've just been talked about with the BBC. And, again, the Jewish people, like Tommy, are the canaries in the mine. First, they came for the Jews. Do you remember that poem? And I did nothing. That's what's going on here. These Islamists, the Jews are just another religion in their way, as are the Christians. The Christians in the Middle East have been absolutely decimated. They're getting massacred in Nigeria. They're getting massacred all over Africa. The Middle East, they're gone. The only place that Christians are safe in the Middle East is Israel, despite the black propaganda that we get all the time, and even sadly from some people in the churches. I know there's issues in various different areas and for various different reasons, but there is religious freedom in Israel. But let's listen to what this guy has to say, or what these two guys have to say. I don't know who he is. He just popped up on my feed this morning, but he's obviously a man of influence. He's obviously a tribal elder of some sort.
Technically speaking, this match shouldn't even be taking place.
Like they did with Russia. Why?
Yeah.
Look at the double standards.
Yeah, so exactly. Yeah, we can go into the into the semantics of all of this. Now, why should we turn up? And I'm saying this, to everybody that's watching and listening to this. Yeah, every single one of you Muslims from Birmingham, young and old, yeah, up and down the country, need to come on the 6th to Birmingham, to the Villa Ground, and need to show your support, because what's going to happen here is that the whole world's media is going to be there. Yeah, and those images are going to go all around the world, and the images where I want them to go, that is more important to me, is to the Palestinians. Yeah, I want the Palestinians to see the clips on their TikToks.
Hold on a minute. This is really confusing me, because I thought that the Palestinians were victims of genocide that had no access to electricity or food, certainly not TikTok. So why? I don't understand why. And why is he talking about the Palestinians? Why does he want the Palestinians to see something? I mean, surely is this not a mobilization against racism and against football hooligans? Is that not what this is all about? Very strange.
In Palestine, in Gaza, of Birmingham Muslims, me, you, and all the other people that are watching, standing there in solidarity, and them to see that we have not forgotten you. Of course. Yeah. And it's not going to happen. They're not going to come. But even if they had come, it would have been a whole different ball game. Because I'm telling you now.
Because they're violent thugs.
Because they're violent thugs. And
why?
This is Birmingham,
It's not Amsterdam.
Yeah.
Listen to that. Look at that. Look at that man's face there. Just let that face burn into your memory. The sneering. There was a pogrom happened in Amsterdam last year. The Maccabi supporters were attacked completely unprovoked by an orchestrated mob of Islamists in Amsterdam last year. And what they're saying is, whatever happened in Amsterdam's a tea party compared with what they get if they came to our manor. That's what these mafiosa scumbags are saying. I can't stand these people. I'm not talking about all Muslims. I'm talking about these Islamists who are deliberately trying to stir up trouble in our beautiful country. They've got to go. They've got to be deported because they are scumbags. They are and you'll see the other two scumbags going to play in a minute.
And I was just going to say, we're not Indian Gujarati Muslims. Yeah, no, take that part out, bro. I don't want to.
Why?
Yeah,
Why?
I don't want to cause any fitna.
No. We're violent thugs. Remember, they're the peaceful. Gujarati Deobandis are very peaceful. Why?
I want to give a message to the younger generation who are going to be there as well.
Please.
Is that some advice? First of all, do not bring any weapons to this protest. No knives.
Whoa, hold on a minute. No knives. No guns. Do you know what? I've never, when I've spoken about protests, and I've organized a lot of protests, all the big Tommy ones, loads of other protests across the country, Scotland, Northern Ireland. The only place I haven't done a protest is Wales. So maybe I should, I don't know. But anyway, the reality is, any time I've done a protest, I have never felt it necessary, right? I've never felt it necessary for me to say to the supporters of our cause, I've never felt it necessary to say, no knives, no guns. None of our supporters have guns, as far as I know. And if they did, they certainly wouldn't be, they'd be legally held firearms, and they certainly wouldn't be bringing them to a demo. Or knives. We don't do that, mate. That's not the way we work. But obviously, there's something in your community where you feel the need to say that. Very, very strange.
No guns, no machetes. No
machetes as well. No guns, no knives, no machetes. Let's say anyway.
And you don't even need to balaclava.
You don't need to hide your face.
Yeah. Why?
You don't need your balaclavas either. So, this is very, very strange. Very, very strange. Oh, guys, I really don't know what we do about this.
Unless you've got a bit of a sensitive job or whatever, and you're worried about the repercussions or whatever, because we have to take that into consideration. Secondly, the police are not your enemy. Remember this: the police are not your enemy.
No, he's absolutely right there. The police are not their enemy. The police are co-conspirators. The police are co-conspirators in this. That's the problem. The police are co-conspirators. No knives, no machetes, no guns, and no balaclavas, guys. I have never heard the like of that in my life.
Don't be giving it the big one to the coppers. Don't be trying to, act all hard and whatever. They've got a job to do. Let them do their job. Technically speaking.
So it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens. And I think it's chilling what's going on here. I think this is absolutely chilling to the core. Just what I'm going to play now, I'm going to play the Chuckle Brothers. These are Aston's very, very own Chuckle Brothers. Better Call Afzal and his mate.
Justice, solidarity, and more importantly, unity. We must be united against racism, hooliganism, and all this far-right nonsense.
Okay. United against racism and hooliganism. But hold on a minute. Are you calling for the Christians to come out and protest with you? Are you calling for the Jews to come out and protest with you? Are you calling for white people to come out and protest with you? I think this is going to be a pretty monocultural meeting tonight. I don't think there's going to be too many white people there. There's probably not going to be too many black people there either. There'll maybe be all the useful idiots from Stand Up to Racism, because they always give them a little bit. They always give them a little bit of cover, don't they? But let's see what the Chuckle Brothers have to say.
West Midlands Police have been spoken to, and they will ensure safety of all protesters and Villa supporters on that day. Villa supporters need to understand that we also support them.
So he's not saying he's a Villa supporter. The last time I saw him, he was wearing a Villa shirt, but that's another story.
Absolutely, and my message to specifically the youth of Aston, the youth of Birmingham, the 700 officers from West Midlands Police and other police forces that have been drafted to protect us against right-wing hooligans, to protect us from Tommy Robinson lovers. Every single one of you must remember.
to protect us against Tommy Robinson lovers. That shows what these goons don't realize is the massive support that Tommy Robinson has in this country. What they don't realize is that Tommy Robinson can mobilize millions of people from all different backgrounds, Sikhs, people from the black community, people from the football community, working class, middle class. Tommy showed that on the 13th of September, that he can mobilize millions of people in this country. And what they don't realize is that they are a minority. And what they don't realize is that nobody likes Islamists. Normal, moderate Muslims don't like Islamists. They don't say anything because they're terrified. They're terrified of them. They're terrified of them. But look at what that other clown said. Don't bring your don't bring your machetes, your knives, or your guns. And these two clowns with very, very, very bad English. One of them's a lawyer. My goodness.
That the police are on our side. They are protecting our communities, our cities.
By the way, guys, see the clown in the white jacket? He's the one that said, we're not here to take part. We're here to take over. We're not going to take part. We're going to take over. No, you're not, mate. No, you're not taking over. Not on my watch. Not on anybody else's watch. Scumbags.
This is our mothers, our property. We must not follow the right-wing ways of being disrespectful to the police, because the right wing are not our teachers.
We must not follow them. We must do exactly the opposite
We must not follow them. Oh, we must not follow them.
of what they do, and give a clear message of unity, peace, justice, and solidarity.
Unity, peace, justice, and solidarity. Leave your guns, your knives, your machetes, and your balaclavas at home.
Hope to see everyone there Thursday, Aston Pavilion, Trinity Road, 6 p.m.
Interesting. It's interesting. It's interesting, guys. I'm going to get rid of him because I don't want to look at his face anymore. Any of those, absolute, the Chuckle Brothers and I don't know, the old tribal leader there. Just get rid of them. Just get rid of them. Get rid of them. And let's just start these deportations. Let's get a right-wing government in that starts rounding these people up that are Islamists, rounding the terrorists up, and let's get them gone out of our country. That's what we need, guys. We need a massive, massive majority in Parliament who are 100% up for getting rid of the Chuckle Brothers with their balaclavas, their guns, and their knives left under the beds. But this is the whole point. The whole point is that, do you know what, Linda? This is the point. This is the point. I mean, I mock them, and I want to embarrass them, and I want to show them as the absolute fools that they are. But this is why I do what I do, because of clowns like these people, because they are dangerous. They have massive influence, and the reality is, big punch up. I mean, I don't know to be honest with you, I am absolutely out of the loop on what's happening in Birmingham tomorrow. And I don't want to be in the loop. I don't know what's happening. I don't think there's going to be a mobilization by any patriots tomorrow. I think there's people probably go and film it, report on it. I hope that's what happens rather than people getting boots on the ground, because I just think that's what they want. That's what the deep state want. And if you have a mass confrontation between a whole lot of football lads, I'm using that as an example, a whole lot of lads, a whole lot of patriots, and a whole lot of Islamists, it's going to be a disaster. So the best thing to do is get it filmed, get it covered, show them for the absolute scumbag, anti-Semitic, racist, fascists that they are. I'm talking about the Islamists here now, okay? Show them for what they are, supremacist scumbags that shouldn't be in this country. And the Islamists, you're on notice. If you're an Islamist, you're on notice, because you will be gone when we get a good government. You will be gone out of the country. You have no place here. You're not going to take over our country. And we need to legislate against people. They used to call it sedition. People who are trying to take over the country, even by peaceful means. You don't have to have an armed revolution. Look at what the left have done. And all of these people, the far left, the Fabians, the communists, the Islamists, and the globalists, they are all traitors to our country and to our cause. And they all need to be dealt with. They all need to be rounded up and the Islamists, they need to be deported. Simple as. And if you were born here, well, we'll work something out. We'll work something out. We just can't have these people in our country anymore. And this is not the moderate Muslims. And I want to show you. I want to show you the sort of Muslim that I want in the country. Okay, I'm going to show you a little video. I put it on the channel last night.
Was being credited with helping to save multiple lives during Saturday's mass stabbing on a train from Doncaster to London has been named as Samir Zitouni. British Transport Police say the 48-year-old is in hospital, critically unwell but stable. His family have said he has always been a hero. Anthony Williams was charged yesterday with 10 counts of attempted murder. A worker who has been credited with helping...
That guy, working hard, looking after his family, and goodness, we still don't know what the motive of that nutcase was on the train. Was he an Islamist? We don't know, because the police have lied to us before. They lied to us about Axel Rudibakana. So there were reports that he was shouting Allah Akbar on the train. I don't know if they're true or not, but that guy was a Muslim, and he stood up against evil. So that man should get the George Cross, without a shadow of a doubt. That man, Samir, should get the George Cross. And he's the sort of Muslim that we don't mind having in the country. But see the ones that come here and want to take over. They don't want to take part. They want to take over. Well, I want you to take the earliest plane out of here. And that's, guys, what we're up against. That's what we're up against. Have a look at some of these comments. Oh, if you're talking about Jay Smith is absolutely fantastic. Did you know the toxic water hemlock is non-polar? Where's my bacon sandwich? Sorry, guys, I can do a lot, but I can't do much. Big punch up. You know, we don't want a big punch up. That's what we want to avoid, and that's why I'm saying I think it'd be great for all the auditors to go. I don't think this is a time to have a big showdown with the Islamists. So, sorry. Listen, you've got to have a bit of levity in the morning. If you want to know about this, yeah, absolutely. This is 100% right. Jay Smith, David Woods, Robert Spencer, they're all absolutely on it. I mean, David Woods used to do a thing with Robert Spencer called Jihad Watch. I don't know if he still does it, or the Jihad podcast or whatever it was called. Well, I'm glad I'm making some people laugh. You know. Oh dear. Advanced UK are the only part. Yes, absolutely. I think Advanced UK are the only part that's going to stop this madness. And I think what we'll see very soon, we'll see some policy coming out from Advanced UK, and we'll find out exactly what is going to happen to Better Call Afzal and Jihadi Jay and his little sidekick. Yeah, there's a lot of love for Tommy. And again, yesterday, we can't underestimate yesterday's result. It's a fantastic result. Very, very good. Well, I'm sure people were saying that about reform, Barry. Tell me who you're supporting, Barry. Let me know in the comments, mate. I'm sure people said that about reform before the last election. In fact, reform could have done considerably better if they'd actually been properly organised for the previous 3 or 4 years or whatever it was. They should have been ready for that last election. Unfortunately, they weren't, and now we've got what we've got. My fear is that they will not survive. We will not survive as Britain for another 3.5 years. Will Advanced UK be ready to make an impact when we need them? They've got to be. I tell you what, if they're not, they're going to, if Advanced UK are not ready, then they're going to have a lot of people to answer to as well. My issue is, guys, I don't trust Farage. He doesn't get the Islam thing. He doesn't get Islamism. He doesn't. He's afraid of it. And Ben Habib isn't. And Ben Habib is very, very. He learns things very, very quickly. He learns things very quickly. I hear all this stuff about a national strike. I'm not convinced of that. My wife says, I think there's a guy called Vindicator that's talking about doing a national strike. Oh, by the way, Working Class Patriot, I need to link up with you, mate. I saw a comment about doing a stream with you. I'd love to do a stream with you. So if anyone's got any contact details for Working Class Patriot, let me know, guys. Let me know how we can get in touch with them. If 100,000 people turn up, they will all be blood relatives. Oh, that's very good. Well, I mean, there probably will be 100,000 of them, you know, that cousins first, cousins, brothers, sisters, sister wives. Oh dear. I would love to see Advance UK leading the country, but the reality isn't going to happen. But we can, well, Barry, do you know what? Let's see what happens, mate. I mean, I think here's the thing, like Ben Habib said, and this is why I want everybody talking about Advance. And that's why I've called out all of my friends, and they are my friends that are fellow YouTubers. And I know some of them won't be too happy with me calling them out. But I'm sorry, guys. I'm not in it. I'm not in this to have friends or to be popular. I'm in this because we need to win. And the only way we're going to win on the right, when Ben stuck his neck on the line for Tommy, he absolutely was cancelled by anybody in the mainstream media, right? He's just been vaporized. So there is then an abundant duty on the people that he got cancelled for to speak up for him, because the only way we're going to get out of this. Listen, as much as I know that we need a spiritual solution, right? We absolutely need a spiritual solution. We need a Christian revival. That's what we need in the country. And Tommy knows that, and he's right about that. And the culture then flows from the Christianity. If you look at the pledge, and again, I'd suggest everybody that can get onto the pledge.org.uk, sign the pledge if you haven't done so already. We need millions of people signed up to the pledge, because if all these political parties fall apart, we still need an overarching ideology that's going to stand. But we can't afford for Advance to fall apart. We need Advance UK to be in pole position come the next election. Now, if we've been cancelled off mainstream media for standing for Tommy, which is what's happened to Ben, that's why he's been cancelled. It's not because Farage is worried about Advance in terms of the threat to reform. That's part of it. But the excuse for cancelling Ben Habib is that he took a very strong stand for Tommy. And that needs to be reciprocated by everybody that's associated with Tommy, in my opinion. Everybody that's in the movement, the Mayatusis, the Sargons, the Lotus Eaters. Why aren't you backing Ben? I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. It's the only political party out there that represents what you claim to represent. And a lot of people are throwing the lot with reform again, who want nothing to do with us, who want nothing to do with Tommy and his movement. So to me, everybody on our side, and this is a call out to every single YouTuber, every single person on our side that claims patriotism, get behind Advance UK. I've nailed my colours to mast. I've no skin in the game. I am not, I'm not living in GB. Yes, Advance is going to organise in Northern Ireland, but it's going to take a lot of time to get traction in Northern Ireland because of the political situation in Northern Ireland. And again, there's going to have to be a lot of discussions about what that's going to look like. So Advance are going to organise in Northern Ireland, but my MP at the moment is an independent MP who's a friend of mine. So and who would incidentally support everything that's in Advance's manifesto. Or it's going to be in Advance's manifesto, Advance's policy. So right now, we need every single YouTuber on the right who believes in the things that we believe to start supporting Advance. I'm sorry, that's just the way I feel about it. Again, a lot of people are going to push back against me. I'm going to get all the grief that I normally get when I speak my mind, but I don't care. Do you know what I mean? I literally don't care. What more can people do to me? Do you know what I mean? So yeah, that's me just being absolutely straight and honest with everybody. We've got to get behind Advance. If we all get behind Advance and you get 1 million people joining Advance, then we are going to be fine. Love this. My life is a punch-up. I'm Irish. Do you know what? I was born in Liverpool and I've lived in Northern Ireland since 1987, as everybody knows that watches my podcast. And I'm kind of Northern Irish by adoption. There's got to be some Irish blood in there if I came out of Liverpool, and I've got the Northern English blood in me as well. So at the end of the day, I'm exactly the same. I like a punch up too. Why do they want to stay here? Everybody looks at them with fear and hate. Yeah, exactly. And I'll tell you what, they will be gone. The Islamists will be gone. The Islamism will be crushed in the UK. I'm absolutely guaranteeing that. You don't need to be afraid of these people. And I know what they've done in the Middle East, and I know what they did in Spain, and I know what they've done. But Islamism, I'm not on about normal, moderate Muslims, the Shohabs and the Lubnas, not on about those people. The Islamists will be crushed in this country. They will be crushed and they will leave. It's as simple as that, because we can't have them taking over our country. Yeah, they will, but it's one demo. It's one demo. Yeah, Gates of Vienna is good, absolutely fantastic. I don't know if they've been here for 10 generations, Merlin, but I get the sentiment. I'm exactly the same. We're wide awake. Well, I'm still. I know what you're saying, Bess, but if we're talking about actually being awake, I've been wide awake since 10 to 5, and I'm still a little bit bleary-eyed. But was I having a bad dream, or did I see an advert? It was Boxing Day. People were in their beds when they heard gunfire. Do you know what that was, Mackenzie? That wasn't a dream. That was a video that was put out by, I think it was one of the campaigns against anti-Semitism. I'm not sure which one, but it was put out after October the 7th to illustrate what would happen if there was a similar attack in the UK and how people in the UK would feel. And guess what? It got banned and censored everywhere, specifically by YouTube. And this is what we're constantly fighting against. We're constantly fighting against censorship. We're constantly fighting against people cancelling us and vilifying us and demonizing us. And it's disgusting. And I'm sick of it. I'm sick of people not showing us any respect when we're the ones that are actually fighting this fight every day, tooth and nail, putting our heads above the parapet. And all we get is grief, and sometimes grief off our own people. Do you know what, with a strike, I just don't see. Look, do you know what? To be honest with Cara, I've never even thought about it. So, do you know what? I'll go away and think about it. My wife's been talking about a strike for ages. But yeah, let's see what happens. Can advance UK rally if there's an early election? If Farage is smart, he will want that before. Yeah, I mean, the reality is an early election is down to the Labour Party. Now, if the economy totally collapses, which it could do, then there will be an early election. Then it will. Well, we've just got to make sure that Advance is ready. If Reform win and Advance is getting stronger and stronger, Advance will pull them to the right anyway. So what we need to do, Advance is not just a one-shot. You know, it's not just a one-shot missile. You know, I mean, it's a machine gun with lots of bullets. So Advance is going to have lots and lots of elections to fight. This is just the very, very beginning. And if they don't win the next election, if there's an early election and they don't win it, then I think we've got to look at what happens next. Guys, I'm going to have to go because I've got to do the school run for the grandkids. Thanks everybody for coming on board. I hope you enjoyed that. A little bit of lighthearted stuff, a little bit of banter, a little bit of far-right extremism, which we all are apparently. According to Prevent, we're all far-right extremists. So we might as well just nail our colours to the masts. Yeah, well, listen, I mean, don't underestimate the battle ahead aspects of mainstream media, politician education. Oh, I agree, Barry. You're absolutely right, Barry. It's a horrendous battle that we're fighting. Absolutely horrendous. Have I missed the weather report? Right, guys, I'm going to go. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe to Counter Media. Just a point on what, who was saying it? Oh, let me just go back up here because I am going to have to go. Someone was asking about adverts. One of my channels is monetized, which is the Counter Media one, but it's only got like 6,000 subscribers on it. So the money I get from that is from those ads that are popping up in the feeds is absolutely derisory. It's minuscule. So there is a bit of money coming from that, but it's not really anything worth writing home about. But yeah, that's my monetized channel. That's why I want everyone on the Counter Media channel, because that is actually monetized. But again, we're not in a situation where we're getting massive amounts of money yet. And I want to build that channel because, you know, to be honest with you, I'm doing this for nothing. And I want to be able to do this. If I've got 100,000 or 200,000 subscribers on Counter Media, then there will be decent revenue coming through from the adverts, and I'll be able to not be, you know, panicking about finances all the time, which is the situation I'm in at the minute. But yeah, I hope that makes sense, guys. I'm going to go. So yes, do you know what? We'll start doing a weather report. The weather report out here is it's raining cats and dogs. See you all soon.